Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's Take. Let's get started. I'm gonna in my next podcast tomorrow, I'll be going over my playoff predictions. For the whole playoffs, and then as each round starts, then I'll give an updated one as well, just to kind of compare and see how close I am. But let's get started with what I want to talk about today. Just as of recently, the finalists for some of for the NBA awards have been announced recently. And to start off, they got the Rookie of the Year one. I mean, not the Rookie of the Year one. Let's go Six Man of the Year one first. So for Six Man of the Year, it's no surprise they got Jordan Clarkson from Utah, and then they got Derrick Rose from New York. No surprise there. And then they got Joe Ingles from Utah as well, which that one kind of interesting because I thought Tim Hardaway Jr. got robbed here because I feel like he should have been finalist over Ingles because Ingles has started a majority of games now with Utah dealing with a bunch of injuries. So it's not because of Ingles' play. Obviously, based on his play, yeah, he deserves to be six-man finalist. But anyways, I thought Hardaway Jr. should have gotten that. But um, but other than that, I'm fine with these finalist lists. I'm still not shying away though from picking Clarkson to win it. He deserves to win it, and it's going to be an outrage if he doesn't. Most improved player. They got Julius Randle, no surprise there. Jeremy Grant from Detroit, no surprise there. And then they got Michael Porter Jr. from Denver, which, I'm fine with that. Those three guys, we're sure the forward from Toronto should have gotten some love, but, Michael Porter Jr. is just fine. Um, I think the clear winner here, though, is Randle. It's like Grant obviously improved, but he's on the worst team in the league. And then, yeah, Michael Porter Jr. improved, and the Nuggets are relevant and good, but it's not like he jumped from, starter to all-star game. Unlike Julius Randle, who went from just a starter to okay, an all-star player and the best player on his team. So that's the kind of jump he made this year. So that's why I feel like he should be the clear winner. That's enough evidence right there, in my opinion. Coach of the year. So the coach of the year I talked about the other day, that was for the National Basketball Coaches Association, to be more specific. But this is, the one the media votes and all that. And they got the same three finalists I have. Quinn Snyder, Utah; Monty Williams, Phoenix; Tom Thibodeau, New York. If any of the if the NBCA is any indication on who should win, I think Monty Williams seems like might be the winner. But but what I'm going to predict is I feel like Quinn Snyder's going to get robbed once again, like the NBCA did to Quinn Snyder. I feel like Tom Thibodeau is going to end up winning just because of that press and jump, from like bottom three East team now fourth seed. It's just such an accomplishment, especially when you think about all the players that are on the next team. They only have one All Star on that team, with a bunch of just more mediocre borderline stars, and they're getting the job done. So I feel like um, the the media is going to like that storyline better and have him win it. I could be wrong. That was a hard one to predict, but it's my gut feeling there. Rookie of the year, they got the three finalists right. Obviously, LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, Tyler Halliburton. It's hard to screw up those three finalists. There's no other rookie that I would consider putting in there. And LaMelo Ball's the clear winner. He got his team to play into a playing game, unlike the other two, so it's clear he should win that one. Defensive player, they got Ben Simmons, obviously, Rudy Gobert, obviously, and then they got Draymond Green. I thought it was interesting because I had Giannis as my third, but Draymond Green's a good choice, especially what you saw in that playing game against the Lakers, what he did against AD to kind of slow him down. Too bad it's not based off that one game though; it's based off the whole season. So I feel like it's more between Simmons and Gobert, and it's all based on what the media likes. You want a true rim protector who's going to get a bunch of blocks per game and going to affect shots around the rim, then Gobert's your guy. If you want a defender who could defend mostly in a position on the perimeter side of it, then Simmons is your guy. So I feel like my gut feeling here is that since the media voted Simmons Rookie of the Year over Donovan Mitchell, which I did not like at all, I feel like they're gonna show him some love here, give him a defensive play over another Utah player, Rudy Gobert. So that's my prediction there. Again, I could be wrong. That one's a hard one to predict. And now for the MVP, and they got the Joker, obviously. And then they got Steph Curry, who was in my top three. And then they got Joel Embiid, which I thought was interesting, considering the games that I missed. So one, it's interesting that Chris Paul is not in this top three. Once again, he got robbed um, from winning any awards, which is unfortunate. But despite Embiid missing a lot of games, the fact that he still is on here, like I said, is pretty interesting. And also with Steph's team being mediocre, the fact that he's on this top three is interesting. But in the end, I think the Jokic is the clear winner here. He stayed healthy, unlike Embiid, and he got his team to 3 seed in the Low to West without Murray for the season, unlike Steph Curry did, where they're struggling to get the playoffs. So I feel like that's the direction they're going to go there, but we'll have to wait and see. So now moving on to some football topic. But we got an NFL topic to talk about in May, which is pretty nice. I like content in May, especially with no games going on and all that. But before I get to the main topic I want to talk about, I did see on Twitter from a I think it's a reporter or something. I'm not sure how legit he is. I'm not sure how legit the report is in general. So don't say this is automatic 100% the facts, because I'm not 100% sure. But what I saw from that tweet though is that he said that the only way Rodgers returns to Green Bay is if Jordan Love gets traded. Well, that's not a shocker. We already knew that. What he then goes on to say was that they had a tense relationship this past season, and the example of that was like in practice, if Jordan Love missed a throw, Rodgers would basically make like paraphrasing it, like snarky remarks or something like that. So, which I thought was pretty interesting. So remember, just the other day, I talked about the info that leaked out on what the Packers that wanted a QB in a trade if they were to trade Rodgers. Well, this is just another nail in the coffin for Green Bay if Rodgers is the one that's leaving. But Green Bay, for once, don't be a buffoon and do the right thing here. Trade Jordan Love. There is a reason why you signed Blake Bortles. And you wanted the QB in a trade for Rodgers if you were going to trade him. There's a reason for that. It's because Jordan Love is not ready right now. And you even said it yourself, you're like, oh yeah, he has a long way to go. It's like, that's not good for a rookie. You should be able to tell by a rookie in mini camp. You should be able to tell him, okay, yeah, he has something. Okay, yeah, I could potentially see him starting. You shouldn't have to wait years before you can finally say, okay, yeah, now I think he could be a starter. That's not good. And if he can't start for 2 years, what makes you assume that he's even going to be good in 2 years or ever at this point? So that's a huge risk to take. So especially since you got other QBs now, just go ahead and trade Jordan Love and pay Rodgers so you can keep him and be relevant and be a Super Bowl contender. Now, in maybe 2 years or so, then you can approach Rodgers about driving his replacement. But that's the thing, though. You just make sure you talk about it with him instead of going behind his back. Now, will the Packers do the right thing here and trade Jordan Love? Probably not. They never do. But they need to decide on their decision of soon, because now at this point, after reading this, there is no way keeping both Love and Rodgers on the roster going to the season is realistic and a good idea at this point. So this will be interesting to see what happens. So now for the big topic. So now the Falcons are, according to reports, looking to shop wide receiver Julio Jones from Atlanta, which is pretty interesting. And he has a big salary cap, so it's not like he's going to come without any baggage per se. But and he has been injury riddled the past couple years. But if he can stay healthy, he's really good. So now the question is, where is the good landing spot for him? Now get ready for my annual top 5 teams that he should go to in a trade. Let's get started with number 1. I'm going to go with Baltimore here, and it's one of the 2 teams to be heavily discussed. Lamar Jackson could use the top 5 wide receiver compared to what he has to work with. Now, I know the Ravens drafted 2 wide receivers in this past draft, including one in the first round. The thing, though, that you need to keep in mind is that the one they drafted with the 27th overall pick, Rashad Bateman from Minnesota, I think Atlanta would like him. So just trade him. So that way they get a fresh, young rookie wide receiver that, while he most likely won't turn it to Julio Jones, if he can turn it to a competent receiver or at least a good enough starter wide receiver, then there you go. You save on money, get rid of Julio's cap and all that, and you can start afresh there for a team that's rebuilding, even whether they like to admit it or not. They're a rebuilding team. And then on the Ravens side, Lamar finally has a bona fide wide receiver that they can have. And it's not even specifically for the regular season, although it's going to be nice. It's for specifically the playoffs. And we've seen it year after year, but especially in that playoff game against the Bills, besides their tight end Mark Andrews, it's like they had nothing there. He had nowhere to throw to. It was pretty pathetic. So now they can have Julio Jones, help them in the playoffs and make them more of contenders. And then you can still have that third round wide receiver that they drafted from Oklahoma State, Tyron Wallace, and along with Hollywood Brown that they have. So, and then like I say, you have Ty Mark Andrews. So that's enough weapons right there to go be a Super Bowl contender. And then you can trade, let's say, an additional second round pick. Now, some people may think Julio Jones may be a first round pick, and top five wide receiver means typically are worth a first round pick. My only concern there about giving up a first rounder for him is that, again, he's like 31, 32, so he's getting older there. Second, he's been injury riddled, and then third, like I say, he just has a huge cap to where I feel like you can give up second rounder. I would try to do third rounder, but I feel like first rounder is a little rich for my taste. But yeah, they can give up second rounder and Julio Jones, and then the Ravens. Oh, the Ravens give up Bateman and a second rounder for Julio Jones. I feel like it's a win-win for both Baltimore and Atlanta there. Next is New England. It's obvious that they need number one wide receiver. I know they had a good free agency to make the position better for what it's been, but it still lacks a true number one wide receiver. Now, what can New England trade into? Well, they can get rid of N'Keal Harry, who I know they want to get rid of. But obviously he's not Julio Jones, so they're going to need something better. And that's where they can trade one of their best, defensive players, especially in the secondary, like McCourty or like something like that, to where Atlanta would be like, okay, yes, that's worth it. Now, Belichick is usually not known for pulling the trigger on a big trade, so I doubt this actually happens, but it's an option that the Patriots need to consider. Third option is Miami. You might raise your eyebrows here, but if you want Tua to look good, getting Jones will do just that. They could have Waddle and Jones for defense to worry about. That would be scary for defenses and defensive coaches. So if I'm Miami, if you don't trade for Aaron Rodgers and you don't trade for Deshaun Watson, then use those extra picks you have accumulated to get a deal done here. And then they can trade like a wide receiver for other on like Devontae Parker or something. And then let's say they traded, a second rounder, or even if they have to give a first rounder, since they have multiple ones, they can sacrifice one type of thing. But again, this may not happen, but it should be considered for Miami here. Fourth is Indianapolis. This one would be interesting to see if the Colts will be willing to pull the lever here because, they would. I assume Atlanta would want Pittman in this trade, and he's like a very young wide receiver, a lot of potential type of thing, cheap. So, I mean, if you're in Indianapolis, if you're going to take on Julio's cap and injuries or something, you're going to basically be like, okay, this is either Super Bowl or bust now type of thing. And if Carson Wentz plays well, then this can happen. But I feel like if you're Atlanta, you would really be willing to steal this up to the Colts on whether they want to get rid of Pittman or not. But if I'm India, at least consider it. And at 5, this is a wild card here. This is Chicago. And think about it. If you're Chicago, you need another wide receiver for Phillies. You have Allen, but he's most likely and kind of told everyone, yeah, he's going to leave after this season. Now, if you trade for Julio Jones and have those two to pair up, and if Fields becomes like a really, really good quarterback, then that might be enough to convince Allen to stay and get a new contract next offseason, and then be a competent team on offense going forward. And now you would have to. Now you're not going to give a Clem Mack, obviously, but you might have to give up, like your second best defensive player overall on the team or something, because that's what Atlanta's going to need, along with maybe like a second round pick, because you gave up like a first and a third for next year type of thing. But again, if you're Chicago, you need to be relevant in an easy division, especially if Rodgers leaves. It's time to go big. Now, if I had to name some honorable mentions, I would say Green Bay, but the problem is that might not be enough to convince Rodgers, because like I said, he'd probably rather get rid of Jordan Love than get Julio Jones and then call it good. But and plus Green Bay, they don't pay their stars, and they would inherit a massive cap, so I doubt they would even do it. New Orleans could use another wide receiver besides Michael Thomas, but again, they don't have the cap room to take on Jones' contract. Some analysts say the Jets could be considered, but Wilson has enough weapons. You need extra alignment or defensive player to trade for if the Jets were to make some type of trade. So I feel like you can watch out for those by data. So it's between my top 5 here, specifically my top 2 choices in Baltimore and New England. So we'll see what happens. Thank you very much for listening to my podcast today. Please subscribe to my channel and tell everyone about me. Thank you very much, and you'll have a wonderful day.